forecast July 17th to 23rd, 2023 new moon. Could change everything. Greetings, I am Batool astrologer presenting you the weekly forecast commencing on Monday, July the 17th, 2023. On Monday, it's a new moon in emotional Cancer. This new moon is in opposition or confrontation to controlling, compulsive, transformational Pluto. Also, we're going to have the warrior Mars slamming up against restricted governmental Saturn. Venus is going retrograde and testing relationships. Mercury rules news, information, and there could be some real unexpected news coming in. This is a really dramatic week for many people and for perhaps the economy and the earth, such as earthquakes or volcanoes or major weather disturbances. Certainly a political crisis could all be coming. Before I break all that down and look at the other individual transits, if you enjoy these types of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest postings. Alright, let's unpack why this week could push a lot of people down to new path. On Monday, it's the new moon. We have a new moon every 4 weeks. This new moon is in Cancer, so wherever Cancer impacts your chart, whatever area of the chart Cancer is aspecting, that is the area where your priorities and your intention is going to be really focused upon. But this new moon is going to be opposite or in confrontation to Pluto. Pluto is endings and new beginnings. It's struggle, it's secrets being revealed. It's going to be a really intense month with this new moon, with Pluto, and that's just one piece of the pie. On the 17th, also Mercury, communication Mercury, the planet of information, will be squaring or in tension with expansive Jupiter. Now Mercury and Jupiter are not harsh heavy planets, but you could be promising too much. Mercury is the communication, Jupiter is the overdoing it. You might be expecting a great deal, you might be promising a great deal, hoping for a great deal, and with that new moon opposite Pluto, there may be some people in positions of power that could be changing everything, so there could be these disappointments. Now the moon is in Cancer because it's the Cancer new moon, but later on Monday, the moon leaves emotional Cancer and goes into fiery, dynamic, extroverted Leo at Pacific Daylight Time. On Tuesday the 18th, the moon is in Leo. The moon isn't making any aspects to other planets. There's no other dramatic planetary tensions going on, so this could be a day of trying to catch up, get your breath. But with the moon in Leo, you might be feeling very outgoing, very playful, very romantic, creative. That's all that Leo energies. Now we get to Wednesday the 19th, and maybe up to 6 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. The Leo moon is going to be crossing over Mercury. Now the moon goes through all the signs every 4 weeks, so at some point, the emotional moon is going to cross every planet once a month. So the moon crossing over Mercury, that could be favorable for talking about your feelings. Mercury would be the talking, the discussion, the moon is your feelings. This could be very favorable for creative writing, for speaking. But you may also got to be careful of the dark side, as Mercury is very rational and the moon can be very subjective, very emotional. So this could be great for creative writing, speaking and singing, but when you're trying to have an honest, heartfelt conversation, you might be too subjective, much more too opinionated. Now that moon in Leo is going to form a hard angle called a square to unpredictable rebellious Uranus in the early evening, like 6-7 p.m. Pacific time. That could trigger unexpected surprises, emotional upsets. While the moon can represent your emotional habits and your emotional programming, and when it hits Uranus, Uranus is about liberation and rebellion, so this could either be a lot of emotional upset, but it could also help you get out of an old routine and break limiting patterns. It is now from Thursday to Sunday, when the energies start to reach a critical point. Mars, warrior Mars, aggressive assertive Mars, will be opposite to controlling, restricted Saturn. This will happen once every 2 years. Saturn can also represent business, but government, and Mars can represent war, and with that Mars in opposition to Saturn, it could trigger much more frustrations with war, but also feeling really angry and frustrated personally or politically. But while that is happening and more is going to unfold on Friday and Saturday, the Sun will be in harmony, putting a real spotlight, a favorable spotlight on Neptune. When Neptune is highlighted, in a more positive way, Neptune is altruistic, it's charitable, and it's empathetic. So what I'm thinking is, like one outcome on Thursday, it could certainly be going into Friday. So Thursday into Friday, that Mars-Saturn could indicate an earthquake, could indicate war, could indicate some kind of major suffering in the world. But the Sun-Neptune brings in all this charity and empathy to try to bring the world together to help. Where that Mars-Saturn could be creating a crisis, now the Moon continuing in outgoing dynamic Leo will go void, of course, 7:09 a.m. Pacific time to 10:13 a.m., so just 3 hours. But during those 3 hours with the Moon void, of course, the energy is kind of flat and unproductive, so you certainly should not launch or start any new event. And if you did a lot of work during the Moon void, of course, that Mars, which has all that desire and ambition, would be blocked with controlling restricted Saturn, whether it's business, economics, governments. 10:13 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, the Moon goes into Virgo, sensible practical Virgo. That will help a lot of us to navigate these tremendous frustrating energies, because with the Moon in Virgo, we're less likely to overreact emotionally. With that Moon in Virgo, we can be more realistic, more sensible. But as we go into Friday, and the Moon continues in Virgo because it goes through each sign every 2.5 days, the Sun will be in opposition or confrontation to dark, compulsive Pluto. When the Sun is opposite Pluto, that can indicate confrontations. The Sun can represent those in authority, and with the Pluto could even be these intense power struggles, and triggering a tremendous amount of emotional reactiveness. Now Pluto rules the underworld, rules endings and new beginnings, but with the underworld, it could be revealing secrets. And that could also be related to Mars-Saturn. Mars-Saturn is triggering a lot of frustration and anger because of secrets that are coming out and being revealed by Sun and Pluto that could be political. But individually, you might be having an intense power struggles with your boss, those in authority. Now on Saturday, the Moon continues in sensible Virgo. Venus is going retrograde. You've been hearing me talking about this in the last couple of months. Venus goes retrograde from July the 22nd till September the 3rd. All things Venus related are being re-evaluated. Now Venus represents marriage, love, personal relationships, and retrograde is a time of re-evaluating your relationships, or that your relationships or needs are being really pulled back and needs to be re-examined. Venus represents beauty, and you may be, on a very mundane level, deciding and starting to think that you hate your clothes, you want a whole new makeup, but you don't want to do that during the Venus in retrograde because you would be disappointed and regret later. But when it comes to cosmetic treatments, the rule is no cosmetic surgery with Venus in retrograde because it's not necessarily that your face would become ugly and you're going to hate it, but you might be underwhelmed by the results, or the surgeon says we've got to get back in there and tweak it again, we need more work. The big thing I found a number of times, when people are having cosmetic surgery during Venus in retrograde, is they look good, but they're disappointed because they wanted to look 35, but still they were looking 50, and they still look really good, but they don't look 15 years younger, and if that was your expectation, you could be disappointed. Venus also represents money, and so depending on how it's impacting your chart, the finances, cash flow could also come to a standstill, could be reevaluated. You could quit a job and then your cash flow changes. The Sun had been in emotional reflective Cancer for 4 weeks, but on the 22nd, as Venus goes retrograde in Leo, the Sun moves into Leo for 4 weeks. The Sun goes into Leo at 6:51 p.m. Pacific Time. When the Sun was in Cancer, it's more emotional and also more self-protective. When it hits Leo, it's more outgoing, it's more dynamic, but then with Venus in retrograde, maybe you got to pull back and reevaluate all these desires. And finally on Sunday, the Moon has now moved into Libra for a couple of days. That gives an emotional response of Libra, of compromise, of fairness, of socializing, but communication Mercury, informational Mercury will be squaring or in tension with unexpected, rebellious Uranus. So there could be this unexpected news in your personal life, but maybe in the international news that you're hearing about this unexpected dramatic news that's being revealed, that could also indicate a lot of anxiousness, a lot of nervousness. So particularly from Thursday the 20th through Sunday the 23rd, there's so much intense planetary energies that I would suggest not making any major life changes. Do not make any decisions about personal relationships during the retrograde, but when it comes to your work or authority figures or the government, there's so much frustration, it is best to just calm down, sleep and see where it goes, reassess everything and not make any important decisions until Monday the 24th or later. So I want to thank you for watching. Until next week, be safe and well. It will be an honor if you will subscribe my channel, as it helps me to grow my channel. Thank you.